have a question for you. Who is leading you, and where are you being led? One summer, our family stayed at a campground where there were some sheep that were kept in a pen all night, right next to our cabin. And they were in this little pen, and they were so quiet. I know, we moved in, I was like, this ain't gonna be good at all. But we never heard them at night. It was in the morning, suddenly in the morning, around 6:37, they all started in, meh, meh, just, really loud. And here came this guy walking down, and he would open the pen and lead them out to pasture every morning, probably 4 or 5 mornings in a row. And then we met him, and his name was Matt. And I was like, wow, it's perfect. They're saying, Matt, Matt. And here he comes to let them out, to take them to pasture. They knew his name. They knew their leader. We just heard from the Gospel of John, which is one of the 4 testaments that tell the story and teachings of Jesus. They are foundational for us because they teach us about our leader, who we want to follow. And we just heard Jesus make an emphatic claim that he is the good shepherd. In fact, he's the only shepherd and the only gate. This is the claim he makes for us. What does he mean? What does he mean? Jesus is emphatically making a claim that he's the best. He's the best leader. He's the one who can lead us into our best life. Anyone and anything else that takes priority for us over God's love, over the Spirit's life, Jesus says, is a bandit and a thief. In Jesus' teaching, we are the sheep, all of us, all humanity. And everybody is the sheep, no exceptions, we humans. And we're all inside some kind of pen together. We might call it life. And we can't see the shepherd, but we hear a voice. We hear a voice that calls us to love and to life and to goodness. And we might not name that voice Jesus. We might name that voice something else, but the sweetness of that voice is the best one to follow. And if we're smart, which, let's face it, we are sheep, so therefore we're not very smart, but if we are, we'll follow. We'll follow that voice. We'll follow that shepherd because the shepherd wants our highest good and our deepest and best fulfillment as his sheep. So this tradition of comparing sheep and humans is a long one in the Bible. You heard it in Isaiah. You heard God holding and caring for us like sheep. And there's a reason that the Bible loves sheep as a metaphor for human beings, and that's because we have these uncanny parallels with sheep. It's embarrassing, but we're going to go there, okay? Are you ready to feel sheepish about this? You might feel so bad about it. It's going to, okay, you guys. All right. All right, quit being so woolly. Okay, here we go. We're going to do this. All right, in his book, A Shepherd Looks at Psalm 23, Philip Keller, for years, spent time with sheep. And he describes how sheep are similar to humans, and here's a few examples. For one, sheep will overgraze the land. This is because they don't know when to stop eating. And so they'll pull up all the vegetation and even rip up the roots. In other words, if there was an all-you-can-eat sheep buffet, they'd be there. And if there was a world where they could extract all the resources, regardless of animal extinction or climate change, they'd do it. All right, well, sheep fight a lot. They will fight with each other in hierarchies of dominance called a headbutting order. They butt each other. And the dominant ones will headbutt the others so that the whole flock becomes restless and they can't lay down. There doesn't seem to be a clear reason why the headbutting is going on, not all the time. Sometimes it might be for TV ratings or to show off and humiliate the other sheep, but the stress and the general sense of constant struggle hurts the flock. Sheep are terribly fearful and anxious of predators and will stampede at the slightest provocation. As long as there is a suspicion of danger, it takes them to a place where they will not lay down, because getting up when you're a sheep is not easy. Especially if you're a 50-year-old sheep, then it's really not easy. So, the older the sheep get, the harder to get up, so you get vigilant, and it's hard on us to find rest. Sheep tend to not know a good thing when they have it. They will wander along a green pasture looking for an opening in a fence, even if the grass on the other side is withered and the land barren. I don't know about y'all, but I'm starting to really relate to this. Okay, so sheep can become cast down. I don't know if you could hear the little story we heard at the beginning, but that was about a cast down sheep. So the sheep get where they roll over, and if they have a lot of fur, they can't get back up because they kind of get stuck and their feet are up in the air. And without their shepherd, they will die because they can't get back up. They're like a little bug, with their little legs, and they can't get up. And pretty soon the gas in their stomachs start to, it's not good. They need a shepherd. My friends, are we without a shepherd? Are we cast down? Or can we say, "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. The Holy One restores my soul." Jesus invites us to let him lead us, not because he wants exclusive rights to our spiritual identity, not because there's some ideology we must follow or a to-do list of good deeds that have to be checked off. Jesus wants us to let him lead us because he's good. He is the good shepherd. He's good at it. He's the shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep. In fact, the very fields and streams were created to support our flourishing and that of all creatures flourishing. We're invited to follow because the paths lead to wholeness and to life, to laughter, to joy. We call on Jesus' name and he speaks to us and he knows our name. We're not a number, we're a name. Our name, our belovedness by the shepherd. And we enter this kind of intimacy that makes our lives meaningful, even though we pass through the valley of the shadow of death, we fear no evil, because our shepherd is with us, always with us. And there's something more. Under the care of the Good Shepherd, sheep do amazing things. Sheep become givers of beautiful wool. Who hasn't worn a wonderful wool sweater in the winter and felt the blessing of the wool? That sheep's wool grows and it's shorn and it grows and it's shorn. These sheep just give and give and give blessing for the world. What a flock! What a blessing! I don't have any sheep. Last time I was with a sheep was years ago, but I am blessed by a sheep. And I'll bet you are too. Those sheep just give and give all through their lives, and under the care of a good shepherd, they have healthy offspring who flourish and they graze the land because sheep aren't picky eaters. That's the good side of eating all you can eat, is you're not picky. And they eat the weeds too. And they clear the pasture of invasive plants. Now, okay, so you got that part about clearing the pasture of invasive plants. Here's one more, okay? Get ready for this one. A sheep's manure is the richest of all domesticated animals. And because they tend to sleep on the high ground so that they can see what's coming, they redistribute that rich manure up at the top through the rain down into the valleys. So in a year or two under good management, sheep can actually help reclaim pasture that has been left desolate. See the parallel? When Jesus is our shepherd, there is blessing for all. It is a blessing and flourishing. Okay, you went there. Some of us went there. Yeah, the manure metaphor in spirituality is a little bit of a stretch, but it's real, right? Even the dumb things we do, somehow God can redeem them. And our blessing in this neighborhood, our blessing in our lives with our friends and those that we encounter, it means something for eternity. It's big. Who is our shepherd? Have we remembered to reclaim our relationship, to tune in and listen to that inner voice of love? Because our shepherd's not a shepherd of condemnation. Our shepherd is not that inner voice that tells you you are not worthy, you are not good enough. That's not your shepherd. Tell that other thief and bandit to get out of your life, because that is not your shepherd. Whatever that bar is that you think you have to achieve is not your shepherd. Your shepherd is that voice within you calling your name tenderly and lovingly and inviting you to follow. So one last story. In his first year of tending sheep, Philip Keller was next door to a tenant farmer. So he was taking care of sheep on one side of that fence, and over on the other side was somebody who was getting paid to take care of sheep over there. And that person did not care about sheep. He barely kept the sheep alive. The sheep became so diseased and thin that they would stand out in the rain and they would look through the fence at that green grass on Keller's property. Well, this property, both of them came down to a beach. And so when the tides were really low in the winter, that flock from next door kind of came down on the beach and went around the fence and came up onto his property. Well, then they ate and ate and ate because they were sheep. Well, one morning he found 3 of these ewes lying under a tree in the drizzle. The rich food from his land had proved too much for them because they had been so thin and compromised. And so they had something called scour, which sounds bad. Don't know what it is. But because of it, these 3 sheep lay like limp gray sacks. So they couldn't even stand on their bony legs. So Keller loaded them up in a wheelbarrow and he carried them around over to his neighbor. And when the neighbor came out and saw the sheep, he simply went in, got his knife, and destroyed them. He couldn't care less. They were a commodity, nothing more. Jesus said, "I know my sheep by name. I go ahead of them, and they follow me." When we follow the voice of God, that inner voice whispering love, inviting us into greater gratitude and deeper joy, into laughter in the worst of times, we become free. We become free to give ourselves to others, to heal from wounds that no longer define us. Have you ever seen a lamb at play? That is our invitation to frolic, to jump, to be allowed to be who we are, even if it's weird. We're allowed to be ourselves and whole. So may we be like that. May we enter it and listen to the voice of our shepherd, not because life is easy or there's some promise that all is going to be better, but because Jesus is our leader. And though we walk through uncertain times, even the valley of the shadow of death, the center and source of our lives is inviting us forward into fullness. may we follow.